Hey guys, this is KAM Kast with Kylie,
Ari,
and Madisyn.
This is just going to be a podcast where we talk about our opinions on different topics. Those topics are going to be the seasons, which are going to be composed of 3 to 4 episodes. And
the episodes are like subcategories for the
subcategories of the topic, yeah. And this season is feminism. This episode is privilege.
And we want to make it clear that feminism is the equality of both sexes and not just women.
Okay, so one thing I kind of want to talk about is just, does female privilege exist? Do you guys even think female privilege exists? Like, people always talking about male privilege and all that stuff, but I think this is kind of an interesting take, like female privilege.
I think female privilege exists, but I think it's more like people who are in the public eye or have like more wealth. If you're a woman and you like have more wealth and you're like a political
figure.
Yes, if you're like a political figure or you're in the public eye, or you have like some sort of fame or wealth or following on like whether it be social media or just like in general, I think those women are given a lot more privilege, which is like a good and a bad thing because I think some of them abuse it, but then some of them are using it in a good way to like spread positivity. And
so you think it has to be like accompanied with another form of privilege for it to like count for anything?
Yeah.
Okay. The only, like, I've seen it a few places, or, like, what I think female privilege is, and I just think it's, like, sort of a variation of privilege. Like, it's not something that you get a lot from female privilege, but you get, like, certain little quirks or, like, whatever is from it. One place I've seen it was just on the cross-country team, because I do cross-country. When my coach, whenever there's snacks, he's like, oh, ladies first, and all the girls get their snacks first, because he just knows, like, specifically for the guys on our team, they're gonna go and take all the snacks, and they're going to hoard everything, because that's how they are, but also a generalization, but that's just how my coach is. He's always like, oh, ladies first.
That's kind of like the thing where I know some guys, like, refuse to not open a door or, like, refuse to, like, go first.
Yeah, like chivalry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kylie, you have any opinions?
I agree with both of you guys on that. I think also, like, with that, like, if you're, like, out eating with a guy or something and they might feel obligated to pay or specific things like that.
I feel like also the perception of guys, they think like girls are cleaner and they're neater or whatever in some way, which...
Or like have better hygiene. I know that's a thing that a lot of people talk about. They're like, oh,
or even like nicer handwriting.
Nicer handwriting. Like high school boys have bad handwriting. They don't take care of themselves. But I think that's really very much a generalization.
Recently I did hear there was this girl, she walked into the guy's bathroom and she was like, whoa, it smells horrible in there. But I know specifically for like our bathrooms, like the girls' bathrooms don't actually smell bad.
They don't really smell good though.
They don't really smell good though.
They don't really smell like anything.
They don't smell like anything.
It's a bathroom.
Yeah. But she was like, wow, it smells like pee in there. But like that might just be that bathroom thing, but I don't know. Maybe it's, the, like, perception that, like, girls are cleaner, girls are more on task. Like, I've seen that, like, also, like, in cross-country, like, the girls get through warm-ups faster, and coach is like, wow, you girls are so much better than the guys. Like, if I had a child, I would not want a guy.
I also feel like male privilege, like, is slightly well, not, like, male privilege, but male standards are kind of slightly unfair to men too. Like they can't show emotion and they're not allowed to like be weaker or anything. And like the second someone shows like a man shows like slight femininity, everyone thinks that they're automatically gay or bi or like they can't be straight.
And also the perception that that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. And like it's still pretty accurate today. I feel like men are held to a higher standard in terms of jobs, and they're required to make the main income for the family usually, unless there's like a special circumstance or whatever. But I feel like that's still pretty relevant today, which I think is like an unfair standard to hold to men, and we can't really have like feminism and equality of both of the sexes if men are still held to these standards that don't really apply to life anymore, like don't really apply to the modern world, if that makes sense.
Do you ever see that in your life, like even at school, like where guys are being held to a different standard for like work ethic or something?
I think in wrestling, the guys are held to more of like I feel like the guys are pushed harder.
Yeah. I see that in cross country too.
Yeah.
Like coach is always prioritizing the guys, and he's expecting them to like win state, but he's like, you know, if the girls win state, that'd be cool. But he's like, guys, you have to win state. Sort of like, and he also like forces them to do more reps, more mileage and things like that. But it's like, of course it's like, I don't know.
There's like, to a certain extent, there is like scientific proof that will prove that men have more muscle mass or whatever, but I don't think that that means that they have the right to be pushed harder, and that women shouldn't be pushed to their full
like I feel like you should be treating the individual or the like workout group or whatever to how they are, rather than just trying to use some formulaic thing like guys are +2 miles or guys are +2 reps or whatever for anything. Like it should be for the specific person and not just, oh, you're a guy, so it should be this much more, this whatever for time or reps or whatever. Other place I've seen, like, female privilege was, like, when you want something and some guys sort of, like, pushing back at you, you can sort of be, like, please, and, like, bat your eyes or, like, flip your hair or whatever and be, like, oh, please, just a favor. And, like, you can be sort of, like, flirtatious with them and be, like, kind of convince them just because, like, you're a girl and I don't know. That's sort of the, like...
Flip your really long hair, Ari.
Flip my really long hair, because it's, like, totally 1 inch long.
Yeah.
But, yeah, sort of, like, I just seen it in, like, the flirting thing, because the only reason I really noticed this was because I tried to do it, like, a week ago, like, and I thought it was working, and then I was like, wait, this guy probably, like, actually thinks I'm a guy, so he probably doesn't see it as flirting, he probably just thinks it's awkward. But, yeah, that's something I, like, tried to do in the past. I didn't really know I was doing it until that moment when I was like, this is probably not working. But you guys ever, like, try to, like, flirt to get your way or, like, be extra persuasive? Or you feel like that?
I do think that, like, sometimes I see girls take, like, advantage of that privilege a lot. You know what I mean? Like, there's some girls who, like, use it to their advantage or, like, use their attractiveness to their advantage, like, to gain privilege and be like, oh, well, like, I'm a lady, I'm a girl, like, I'm hot, you should totally let me, like, whatever they're trying to convince them to do or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I see that more. I don't really use that, but I see it more to, like, being abused, not used. Being abused.
Yeah. And I feel like in that aspect it is a privilege thing, because there's, like, that not fairness, and, like, you can abuse it to, like, get something you want or, like, do something you probably shouldn't be doing. But, yeah. You guys ever feel, like, a lack of privilege? Like, people underestimate you because you're a girl or appearing, like, very feminine or something?
Yeah, I mean, specifically for me, I mean, even just, like, last week, or I feel like it happens a lot of times, like, when I'm in the grocery store and I'm buying the groceries and, like, I'm in there by myself and, like, I have, like, the big containers of water, like, they're always like, oh, do you need help out? Like, are you sure you can make it to your car by yourself?
Like, yes, yes, I can.
And I'm like, I've got this. And they're like, are you sure, like, it's okay to ask for help? And I'm like, yeah, but it's also okay to do it by myself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, in cases like that, or I feel like sometimes, like, at school, if, like, we're moving tables or carrying big, like, things, it's always like, oh, like, are there any guys who are able to help us? It's like, well, I can do it too. Like, just because I'm a girl, I mean, doesn't mean I can't push a table a foot.
Yeah. They're always like, oh, can I have some guy volunteers to help me move this table? Or, like, move this mat or whatever, and it's like, well,
excuse me.
Yep,
I'm
okay.
just as capable.
Yeah, sort of like people underestimating your capability and stuff.
I think that's very relevant still.
Yeah. And we feel it a lot since, like, we're in a school environment and, like, people are always asking for help and never asking the girls for help. Unless they're like, can you file these papers for me? Can you grade these papers? It's like, wow.
Can you do my busy work?
Is that all I can do? Okay. Okay, one place I feel it, like, a ton is, like, when I ask my mom, oh, I need to go on a run, she's like, oh, invite a friend, or...
Oh, like doing things alone?
Yeah, like
because
doing
of, like,
things
the fear?
alone.
Yeah.
She's like, you're gonna get kidnapped.
Yes.
And, like, I'm not allowed to run alone under any circumstance under the sun. Like, she's like, it has to be around people, that you need to have other girls with you or another guy with you even. Like, she's like, you need to be in a group at all times if you're without an adult, and, like, I'm never allowed to run by myself, and that annoys the heck out of me, because growing up, like, even when I was younger, like, my brother was allowed to go on these bike rides where he goes up around the neighborhood. I never actually found out where he went, because he would go on these bike rides alone. I'm like, Mom, can I go on one of those? And she was like, no, honey, you can't. You're too young. She would say the you're too young thing, but
like, then that gets...
2 years later, when I was the same age, I'm like, Mom, can I go on a bike ride by myself? She's like, no, that's just, you're too young.
Dangerous.
It's too dangerous. Like, there could be strangers in the neighborhood. I'm like, there's always going to be strangers out there, but, like, sometimes you just gotta do it. Oh, yeah, it's like, so frustrating.
At a certain point, like, I feel like men are given a lot more independence.
And, like, trust to do things by themselves.
Like, to go out and do things by themselves, and then girls, we kind of, I feel like we have to wait till we're more 18-ish.
Yeah.
Like, when we move out of the house is kind of when we finally gain independence to, like, go out and do things alone. Like Ari said, go on a run alone or go, like, on a walk alone. Like, I understand the need to... I feel like it's a parental thing to, like, want to protect your children, but I think to a certain extent it is slightly biased towards the protection of women and young girls.
And it's, like, almost if you even, like, switch to antiquated language, it's like, oh, you need to be accompanied by someone. It's like, what? Yeah, just... Yeah. And also, like, as girls, even if we're running as a group, we're, like, told to fear certain people, like homeless people or people who are talking to themselves, or people who will be seen as, like, a predator. Like, we're, like, using language like that to, like, say, oh, because you're a woman, you have to be aware of these things, you have to do this, that. It's, like, that's present for all humans, and, like, it's just, like, the fact that that's even there is, like, so annoying. It's just, like, ugh. Okay, so kind of like the word predator, like, do you guys feel like there's any other language that may be used to sort of, like, attack women's thoughts or ideas or, like, person? Like, the word friend zone, we were kind of talking about. Friend zone is, like, your right to say, is kind of attacking your right to say, like, no to someone. They're like, oh, dude, you just got friend zone.
Yeah.
It's like,
and it's used as kind of like an insult as well, because it's almost like the girl is never supposed to say no, but maybe I'm just, like, not into that person in that way.
Yeah, maybe she just doesn't like you.
Is that so hard to believe?
Yeah, right.
Like, maybe I literally just want to be friends with someone. Oh, you know what I hate, too? You can never be friends with a guy without anyone thinking you're dating.
Oh, I hate
that. Like, yes, I can be friends with a guy. And I don't want, like, and I don't feel romantic about it at all. Like,
yeah.
That is a possibility, and I feel like a lot of people still don't understand that. And as much as it's drilled into people's brains, I don't know why there's just such a weird stigma about it. But it's like oh my gosh. It's like, okay. It is so annoying. Because if you think about it, if, like, a gay guy was friends with a girl, no one would ever assume they were dating just because the guy was gay. But then if a straight guy and a straight girl are friends, automatically, like
they must
like
be
each
dating.
other. Like they can't
there must
just
be a
be
motivation.
friends. There's no way you can just be friends with like opposite genders. That's really annoying to me.
It's so annoying. Or like if your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever is like getting jealous and you reassure them with, oh, they're gay. It's like, does that need to be a reassurance? It's like, other than just, I don't like them that way, or they don't like me that way.
Or we're just friends.
Yeah, we're just friends. Like, why can't that be the reassurance other than like, oh, they're gay? Like, oh, also the word bossy, you kind of ran into this problem in journalism. When, like, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a leadership role in journalism this year, and some of the male counterparts in that class have said that I come off as bossy when really, like, I personally do not think that I'm a bossy person. I don't
think you're bossy at all.
I just try to lead the best that I can, and I understand that sometimes I can be bossy, but I feel like a lot of women's leadership skills are just formed into the term bossy. Like, I can't be a leader. I'm just bossy at that point.
Yeah, they're, like, devalued. It's like, you're not even being a good leader. Like, that never comes into the conversation. Like, she's such a good leader. She always keeps people on task. It's like, no.
She's bossy.
She's so bossy. She's always telling me what to do. She's always doing this. And
I feel like if it was a male, if there was a guy, like, not once did I hear,
like, last year,
not once did I hear any of the male leaders in our class get called bossy.
No, it's just like, oh my gosh, like, they know how to lead the class so well. They're gonna be such great leaders one day. Like, look at how, like, where they're
all
taking
the places
this
they'll
program.
go.
Yeah, but then the second that there's a woman leading a group, sorry,
a woman.
The second there's a woman leading a group, she's automatically bossy, and I feel like a lot of people tend to be turned away from that, and they're like, oh, she's so bossy, so then they listen less. And I feel like I'm given less respect because people take my leadership as bossiness.
Yeah, it's like the privilege that guys get, that people trust them to lead, versus like girls, there's a lot of questioning. It's like, oh, she's like so like this and so bossy.
I feel like it's also a big part of like just guys being threatened by powerful women. Because, like, they've been stuck in this, like, it's, like, guys know everything, and, like, they're, like, the top of the, I don't know if you want to consider, like, the food chain or whatever, but then, like, now that, like, all of us women are kind of, like, proving them wrong, like, we
now
can
that
be
it's
up
becoming
there.
More, like, equal.
Yeah, I feel like they've turned that into, like, well, because they're so powerful, obviously they're just bossy, so, like, that's their way of dealing with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just feeling threatened by this, like, new change, and also just, like, the sort of idea that, like, any change is bad or whatever. Another word we've seen that was, like, used to devalue women is, like, the word slut, as, like, oh, she sleeps around a lot or whatever. And it's, like, devaluing her right to say yes to a guy. So, like, friend zone, like, devaluing her right to say no, I don't like you that way. But then slut, like, devaluing her right to say yes, I do want that. And, like, it's totally her choice.
And there's such a stigma that it's cool for guys to sleep around, and it's cool for them to, like...
It's like a competition amongst all the friends.
Yeah.
Like, all the guys, they, like, have a secret little competition, and they're like, oh, like, he slept with the most girls. Like, that's so cool. Or, like, I wish I could be like that. You know what I mean? But then if girls do it, they're automatically, like, looked down upon, and it's like, that's wrong. You should not be doing that. But, like, where did I... Like, that stigma should not have... I'm very frustrated, like...
Yeah, like, the guys who, like, talk with their friends, they're like, oh, like, what base did you get to, or whatever, like, with a girl, they, like, always want to know, like, the details, like, did you do this and that with her? But then with girls, it's like, oh my god, you touched his hand? What? Or
it's like, oh my god, like, you guys went that far, like...
You went that far? Like... Have you considered your future?
Yeah.
Like,
or they're always like,
oh my god.
I got asked a lot, like, oh, like, is that really what you wanted? Like, were you really sure? Like, you need to be careful and, like, make sure it's really what you want. But it's like, if a guy did that, it's like, nobody really tells him,
really what
is it really what you want? Like, you have to really consider this. It's not something that you can just, like, throw around. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, while that is, like, if you're really thinking about it, that is, like, something, I don't know. But, like, maybe it should just be equalized. Like, guys should be asking that questions, or on the flip side, like, the girls shouldn't be asking that questions. Like, or shouldn't be asked those questions. You mentioned, like, using your privilege and sort of, like, using it wrongly. Do you think, like, privilege can be used for, like, good?
Yeah, I do. I think there's definitely a lot of influencers now. I like to say the word influencer rather than, like, a famous person, you know? I feel like there's a lot of influencers now who are using their privilege that they're given because of who they are and their social status. Yeah. They use that to an advantage to try to raise awareness for, like, oh, like, just because I'm, like, this big shot famous woman doesn't mean that I'm bossy. Like, I am just as strong as my male counterparts in the same business as me, or, like, I should be valued just as much. You know?
Like, drawing attention to, like, important causes or stuff. Yeah. Like, even, like, influencers who maybe have certain privileges, like wealth or something, they end up turning to, like, philanthropist or philanthropic, like, organizations, and, like, bringing a lot of attention to that and donating their time and efforts to that organization, and, like, using that privilege, their wealth, their power to help bring up this organization that maybe wasn't doing so well, and that is an important cause, you know?
Yeah.
Should we wrap up?
Yeah, I think that's a good place to stop.
All right, I think
that's good.
That's good. All right, this has been KAM Kast.
With Kylie,
Ari,
and Madisyn.
Bye.
We'll see you next time.